Trinity Fusion is a futuristic platformer that was released back in 2022, but now it's finally launched on the Nintendo Switch. In the eShop the price is $20, and in this video we check out how it feels on the handheld console, and if it's worth buying. Feel free to subscribe to my channel and give the video a thumbs up. Let's go! Okay, I want to start by saying that I basically think this is a very entertaining game. This depends on how you gradually strengthen your characters by going out into the world and fighting enemies and collecting materials. When you die or take out one of the game's bosses, you return to the hub where you then buy various upgrades. In this way, it feels like you're getting stronger and stronger in the long term. Very entertaining. But it has been a very bumpy ride. This is because I have experienced numerous crashes on the Nintendo Switch, to the point that the crashes themselves feel like the game's worst enemy, and you never know when they will come. Sometimes you're in the middle of a stage and out of nowhere the game freezes and then crashes. But most of the crashes happen when the game is loading. It becomes particularly frustrating when you have collected a lot of material and are well into the game. Out of nowhere it crashes and I lose everything. I then have to start from the beginning, which feels so uncool. In order for the overall experience to be complete, these issues must be addressed, because basically we are sitting here with a game that I think is very entertaining, but with all the crashes included, this is currently not a sustainable product. They need to be fixed. When it comes to the visuals, I have played this game in both handheld and docked mode, and visually I think it looks very good regardless of how you choose to play. It is a game that definitely has a futuristic design, and above all I want to highlight the color choices that usually blend together in tasteful ways. Parallax scrolling is also used to create a certain depth, and I think the developers have succeeded well in putting together several worlds that all feel complete. My favorite is probably the factory. I really like the design of this stage. It gives a futuristic impression, but with the background included you wonder what was actually built here. The structures are gigantic and fit well into a world that is also dystopian. The forces of evil rage around every corner. Before I discuss the enemies and bosses, I want to mention the difficulty level. It can be set to your liking. There are 3 modes: Survivor, Veteran and Hardcore. Survivor is relatively forgiving, but I still think you have to be aware of your surroundings and play smart, otherwise you can get beat and lose. Veteran is the second difficulty I currently play on, and this can be quite challenging at times. If you beat the game on the Veteran level, Hardcore is unlocked, which I guess is for the real pros, so there are 3 difficulty levels in the game. The enemies are pretty standard and don't really offer anything new to the table. We have seen most of it before. You have the classic aviators that launch bullets, you have a couple of enemies that do melee damage, as well as a couple of others that use ranged attacks. One enemy is pretty cool though, because it rises from the dead and you have to knock it down again. Pretty cool. However, the enemies can be a bit tricky to fight, because you don't want to get hurt in this game. So there is a point in learning their movement patterns and how they act. Something I really like about the game are the bosses. They always come with a plethora of different abilities and can really put one to the test. This is one of the first bosses you can encounter, and already here it is noticeable that you have to be alert. It consists of 3 eyes and shoot laser beams. Sometimes the eyes split and create patterns of lasers that must be avoided. And this boss uses its huge tentacles to hurt you. So my impression of the fights is that the bosses add to the entertainment value of the game. So the question is whether you should buy this game. I would say yes to that question, especially if you appreciate roguelites. It's a bit tricky though, because it's a bit reminiscent of a Metroidvania, but I definitely want to be clear that this is more in the roguelite direction. You go out into the world and collect materials. If you die, you start over from the beginning, but get to keep some things you find. However, there is an investigative aspect that is more reminiscent of a Metroidvania, so somewhere it is perhaps a mix of both genres. The control also feels perfectly fine. You can dash and double jump, use melee and ranged weapons. No surprises, but it works well. I have mostly played in handheld mode, but regardless of how you choose to play, it feels good in all modes. However, what makes this unplayable at the moment is that it crashes far too often. This needs to be fixed immediately. We cannot have a game that crashes at such a high frequency, but if the developers fix the issues with the crashes, then we have a solid, entertaining and challenging platformer. Feel free to subscribe to my channel. Have a good day. See ya!